We started Inov8 in 2004. Actually, we started working in July, and we ultimately registered in 2004 in August after a couple of months. So we were very focused on working within mobile payments. So in 2004, mobile payments was unheard of, and people thought we were stark raving mad or smoking something which we weren't supposed to be smoking. But that's exactly how it all planned out. So we started off, the consideration was to do mobile payments in 2004, and it was so new at the time and so nascent globally that, and just putting it out in Pakistan, which is generally not a front runner in innovation and sort of technologies that foment the quantum leap. So we decided ultimately, even after the pushback, that we would put our platform together. And the general response was very incredulous. And obviously we had to sort of dovetail, the telecom industry and the banking industry together. So we had from 2004 we were in stealth mode till 2006. No one knew what we were doing. Our friends or family, they all wondered. The general response was that मेरे बेटे का computers का काम है. So that was really where it was. But we had the platform ready in 2006. We started showing it to banks and telcos in 2006. And very soon we had multiple banks on board, and we had the largest telco in the country on board. Utility companies, airlines, insurance companies. I mean, we put together an entire platform. And this was only, we're talking 2006. It took us about a year and a half to get the platform, in shape. We had 5 banks at the time, 2 of the largest banks in the country, plus an international bank and 2 others. So in our own research and in our own minds, without actually saying it was the first, if it wasn't the first, it was one of the first multi-bank mobile payment platforms in the world. And with a lot of fanfare, we launched in 2008. We didn't know how much our telco partner was going to advertise this in the first 3 days. But interestingly enough, we had it was everywhere in the first 3 days, newspapers and TV and radio, everywhere, really plastered across the country. And since it was a first, I think there were no regulations at the time, and the regulator, and I understand they're more cautious than in other countries, and they requested that they couldn't regulate us, but they went to the banks and they said, look, you have to switch this service off. So we were a startup, we were bootstrapped. There was no concept of startups in Pakistan in 2004 to 6, 7, 8. I mean, it was unheard of. So it wasn't like, you have an incubator and an accelerator and then like tons of incubators and accelerators and money pouring in, but there was nothing for us to lean back on. So because the regulator said we need some time to understand what's going on, and given how the country risk element works in Pakistan, it took about a year before we could go back to market. And in that year, we pretty much lost most of our partners, and we were this was 2009. So we basically from 2009 to 2011 were irrelevant as an organization. And 2008 we had 102 employees, and we by 2011 we had reached 11 employees. So it was only a matter of just it was difficult because we either had the decision every month of shutting down or staying open. But I think God had a master plan for us, and we managed to get back up and off the ground. Um, so we just basically started focusing on the B2B market in 2011. And today in the B2B market, Inov8 has approximately 22, 24 deployments. And anything that's digital, mobile, branchless, pretty much for the most part, we're one of the largest players in the market here. And we focus solely on our own market till this point. In 2015, we raised $5.4 million. We got a valuation of 108 million. And so post that relevant stage, when we started going out, what was amazing was that what we were talking about in 2004, people were still talking about the same things in 2011, 12, and they hadn't moved beyond कि मैंने bill pay करना है या मैंने दूसरी चीज़ करनी है. So we decided that we were going to change course and put together a platform which is what FonePay is today. And unfortunately, or fortunately rather, we had the opportunity to actually go and do that. So we realized, and by coming full circle with how Inov8 actually started, that it wouldn't be possible to run the same out of the same company. So we decided that our business to consumer function was going to be completely independent, and it's now a completely separate company. And we also wanted, because Inov8 had become a larger, maturer company. Maturer companies tend not to be as agile as startups, and we wanted to retain the startup culture and agility that we had before. And that comes with its pros and cons, but I think that because of that startup culture, we've managed to do some amazing things in the short time that FonePay has been in the market. So we are now sitting on 50,000 merchants in the country. We are the largest acquirer in Pakistan. We have 13 plus banks on the platform. And the whole concept behind FonePay is that it become a super app, and that it do anything that really that you would want to do as a consumer. So you can do everything from book tickets for buses, cinemas and events, book doctor appointments, flag a rickshaw, book or a ride-hailing service, find locations, and obviously other than that it's got the usual suspects, the bill payments, the top-ups, which we don't really harp about. But more so than that, you can link an account from these 13 institutions and walk into 50,000 places across the country and use your mobile to make a payment. It's very easy, very secure. So it's something that we feel very proud of, and we want this to be, not to sort of, Pakistan is amazing as a country, and as I had said earlier, the reason for coming back to Pakistan was Pakistan first philosophy. Pakistan has not yet seen a unicorn today. You have the example of Kareem, and which is a fantastic story, and they've done an amazing job. But they've expanded into other markets. Pakistan was not the first market that they launched in, but made in Pakistan for Pakistan unicorn, $1 billion valuation. That is inshallah what we want to do. We feel that in itself will open up the floodgates for Pakistan and the sort of entrepreneurial and the technology sort of startup scene in Pakistan. Most bankers and most people think that being digital is being able to make a digital payment online, paying online, whether it's by card or using your phone to make a payment or to do an online payment. But there's a lot more to digital than meets the eye. And for a bank to be a digital bank, the work that is required on the customer channels uh, is perhaps 5% of the total work. It's the work that's required inside the bank in terms of your system and processes, their complete automation uh, with the right level of data processing and big data capabilities, and the ability then to really grow that and take that forward. That's where the real challenge lies. So, for example, a bank should be able to decide if a customer is eligible for a car loan in 10 seconds. And if they so decide that he is eligible for a car loan in 10 seconds, the next 10 seconds should see that person have that car loan facility to him. So that's really as simple as it in very, at a 30,000 feet sort of perspective. There's a lot more to digital than just the fancy stuff that you see. There are a number of fintechs in Pakistan. SimSim is one in a fairly similar space, but it's restricted to one financial institution. And then you have a number of other, and the line is kind of getting blurred between financial institutions and fintechs. But most of the fintechs that you see today are around payment plays. There is a company called CreditFix, which has been co-founded by this gentleman and a friend called Awais Zaidi. That is Pakistan's first lending fintech, so it's not a payments fintech. Very clear, very niche. So that's another one to look out for. And then you have a couple of other ones that are coming into play. There's 4 or 5 other ones, smaller ones that are starting off. This TPL with Rupiah or Rupiah, I don't know how that's pronounced. There's one by the Laxon group called Naya Paisa, and there are plenty. But we're a population of 200 million people. I don't think that it's going to. There's more than enough playing room. But in terms of really advanced stuff, most of the stuff is still focused around either money transfer or payments in general. So I think there's a ways to go, and there's a lot more within fintech which we don't know of yet today in Pakistan, but there is a huge landscape within fintech. The biggest barriers to innovation within the banks, I think, if you look at bulge bracket banks, which are the big 6 or 7 banks today, I do believe that it's just the culture that they have which is the biggest barrier, because they're not designed to be risk-taking, and innovation entails a certain quantum of risk which you need to take and apply. I think that the branchless banking thing is, it's difficult to comment about it because we're a big player on the B2B side. But I think that what we have succeeded in doing is for branchless banking today is setting up a glorified money transfer service, because that's where the bulk of the money is. Right? The whole premise between branchless banking is financial inclusion. You're not financially including anyone by running a money transfer service cross country. So the whole concept, and ideally it should be that they should switch off the money transfer business. It should be shut off, like in Bangladesh. You have agents where you can cash out, where you still need that. But in terms of money transfer, it has to be initiated by a customer. There is no, you need a wallet to initiate a money transfer. So, and then when you have the wallet, and when people are conducting money transfers, it's just a matter of time. People felt that people at or below the poverty line would not be able to, come to terms with using a technical device. But I think that's being proved wrong today. We have 50 million people on Facebook in Pakistan and growing. And I think that everyone knows about WhatsApp, and there's so many other chatting apps which my domestic staff and people who work for me use at home. I from IMO. I'd never heard of IMO, and like lots of other different types of chatting and free apps. So, they have come significantly up the curve. I just feel that the concept of branchless really, in essence, for the future is having the ability for a customer to sign up to an account in real time, right? And that's an account that ultimately will be graduated into a formal like checking or savings account, but it still gets them to be banked. The minute you start banking someone, the whole concept of digital is that you're accumulating enough data to be able to give them access to financial services, loans, savings, insurance, and so on. So that's really ultimately what financial services are. We haven't done that yet, really. So I think the key to any long-running successful digital play is, um, what we call the user experience, which is akin to the customer experience. That is really, I feel, where your differentiation lies. So ease of use of, for example, conducting a transaction, how familiar and how sort of customers like, and that translates into time that they spend within the app. So UX is one of the most critical items when it comes to digital for the next few years. I think lots of brilliant stuff happening on the local startup ecosystem. Great job, I think, by a number of the incubators here. So I think two trailblazers, which I want to call out here, who have paved the way for the rest of the industry. Number one, PITB and Plan 9, and that included Dr. Umar Saif and Nabil Kadir, and then Jahan from Pasha and the Nest IO. I think without these two entities, the startup ecosystem today would not really exist in the shape it was, and they have fought hard and trailblazed their way through this entire thing. A phenomenal job in helping create and kickstart the ecosystem, but there's a much longer way to go. I mean, from the incubators to the accelerators, these companies need funds, and there are specialized early stage funding entities, and then mid stage, late stage, but the thing which we haven't really come to is that anyone who invests money in these companies need a return on their investment in terms of their exit, right? So the whole VC model is built very differently from other models. So that ecosystem needs to be sort of enforced here. But on the whole, there's some great stuff coming out of Pakistan. There are some areas which are sort of missing, which is the AI and machine learning piece, which I hope that we start working on. We are a country of, I believe that we employ a herd mentality in this country, excuse me. And I'm hoping that, you can have someone successful in AI which drives, herds of people towards it, because that really is the future. And anything that companies are looking to do, AI needs to be a very big sort of part of that. Very nascent still. Last reports are that ecom touched $600 million out of 152 billion total retail spend, which is a very small amount. I don't think that there's a long way for it to go, but promising. It's going to happen sooner or later. And I think one of the benchmarks that we need to consider for Pakistan in its nascent stage, most of the traffic comes from mobile. Globally, the trends are beginning to change. Most transactions happen from mobile. And we just got 3G, 4G properly implemented last year. So give it another 3 years and you'll see, I think, great results in Pakistan. 5-year plan for our organization. Our focus at least mine, is most certainly on FonePay. Um, we want to have at least 1 million merchants in Pakistan over the next couple of years. We want to have 50 million customers, and we want to be known as an AI data only company in 5 years. I say this often internally that it's not payments really that are going to drive whatever we're looking to do. It's actually data, and it's our understanding and application of that data which is going to decide where we go.